All right, starting a recording for budget.
We're going right into it, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody can name that. Anybody name that tune?
18.
Yeah. The A-Team.
Oh, now I know it.
Definitely not a club I was involved in high school. The A-Team, I guarantee that.
Well, I expect that on every one of my intros to meetings now. So I'd like to call the budget meeting to order at 5:31.
You got it, ma'am.
It's an F troop. No, sorry.
Okay, we'll jump right in. Smells like we have a 5-minute break before the next one. Mr. G, you want to go through the reports?
Yeah, let me get those on here real quick. Hold on.
Has the weather hit, guys?
I just heard thunder.
I was going to say the rain started.
Uh-huh.
Is this supposed to be a bad one?
It's
Yeah.
pouring, yeah.
It's supposed to be in and out, but still.
Okay.
I heard something going on out there. It looks like it's really pouring.
I need to go look and make sure everything's
It's
covered.
on Milwaukee, and yes, tornado watch is going on. So,
Boy.
Anita, what is up with your internet?
you know what? I don't know.
Okay, we ready, Chrissy?
Yeah,
Hey,
go ahead.
John. Just want to say hi to John out there. Hope you're doing well, John. Okay, we have, this is internal accounts. I sent it to everybody here. I also sent it to people that aren't here, like Chad and Mary Ann, so they could send it to the PPLC. This is our internal accounts. We're getting a little more healthier. As we go down, you can see we have 684. I'm going to go down a little bit. As you can see, we got some nice healthy accounts in here. We have building lease is at $15,000. That's still nice. Some of our departments have money in it right now. I'm not really giving the departments any money right now because not a lot of money is coming in, but also they don't have a lot of the expenses that they normally do. Like normally they would spend $5,000 or $6,000 on supplies for their department, and they kind of don't really need them right now. What I think a lot of the teachers are doing is spending that $250 that each of them get, including our counselors, on stuff that they might need at home. So, but right now, if departments need something, I am more than willing to listen to them and get it if they see it as a necessity. And we'll talk more about that as far as licenses go. So going down a little bit, I'm going to show you a couple other accounts.
Can you make it bigger, Mark?
Sure.
Zoom in a little. There you go. Perfect.
Okay. So going back up here, yeah, the building lease income, $15,000. That's nice. We got parking lots still hanging in there. So going down a little bit, we've got this $28,000 in here in gym uniforms. So what we're going to do right now, lately, is we're going to take an inventory on all of our sweatshirts and stuff that we have in school, and then we're going to start ordering some stuff for next year for when the kids get here. We've got an idea where we're going to put it. We're trying to renovate a lot of the rooms. It's kind of like a domino effect. We're going to take this one room and then the other room goes, and so we'll explain that more in facilities when we talk about that. Going down a little bit, some other healthy accounts. We always have a fair amount in replacement IDs that we can use for certain things that we may want to use for some capital expenses. I haven't gone through here, but I feel I've done it on paper, but I could go through this internal accounts, and I could whittle away, I feel, anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 by taking some away from some of these accounts to what we could use for capital expenses right now. And I think that's really important. Like we talked about in facilities, this is a golden time right now, and the window is closing as to what we can do with our facilities. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just double down right now. Let's get our facilities done so that our future expenses aren't that much. This is, like I said, I could whittle some of this away. One of those things that we may talk about maybe next meeting is to get at least one school bus. They're $55,000. And so I'd like to get one just because that they would save us so much money every year. I'm all about buying things that are going to save us money. So as you go down, here's instructional fees. but I want to point out a new account that's here. So we have instructional fees, which is right here. That's kind of like our checking account, okay? So we have instructional fees at $210,000. Right now, we've only had about $70,000 or about $80,000 come in from charging the fees this year. And I believe it's because a lot of people are holding off to see whether or not they have a free and reduced fee right now. I think our free and reduced, just roughly the numbers are, our free and reduced is about 50%, okay? So if we have 4,000 kids, 50% or 2,000 are not gonna pay anything. But that leaves about 2,000 that are probably gonna pay something. So you go 2,000 times 300 is $600,000 just from this year, that if everybody paid, and we know they won't, we should be able to raise. But right now with about $80,000 in, I know we should have a bump soon. But again, I think I'm gonna have an ask, you know, like, okay, you've gotten your letters, you either got it or you didn't. And if you didn't, please help us out. It's really important. But I do understand Christmas is coming up and the holidays, that this might not be a real good time for a lot of people to pay. So we might get a little bump then, but then I'm expecting another bump because I'll put a push out like in March and April when people start getting some checks back from taxes. So we should be able to get a lot more from them. And then also at the end of the year when seniors are leaving, most of them tend to cash out and give us some money. But if you look at it, underneath it, 2 rows down, is something called instructional fees. Let me highlight it here. Can you see it right there? Instructional fees 2020, 2021. That is a new account that we opened up because we want all the money that we collect to go into there. Because it's kind of like I don't want somebody coming here and saying, wait a minute, you charge this money and you're paying with internal accounts to buy like a clock and whatever. I mean, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. So all the money that we collect this year, which is earmarked for online learning, because that was the rules that we have to play by, and everything that's used for remote learning is going to go into this account right here. And so that's what we'll take everything out of right now. Okay. So I just want everybody to know there's 2 different instructional fees. The one that was like our old bank account. And so now we opened up like a new Chase account right there with this money. And I know it's negative right now, but that's because we took some money out of it right away. Because what we're going to do is underneath it, you see licensing fees. That's going to be all of the licenses that we bought this year. So this is what we're waiting for right now. If I can try to make it simple. All that money that we collected this year is right now into our old checking account. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting it into the new checking account, that $80,000. And then from there, I'm taking out the licensing of it, because all that licensing we did this year is now going to go under licensing fees. So I don't want it to go out of the old account. I want all the money to go into our new checking account. And then out of there, I want to pull the licensing fee. So if anybody ever audited us, and I don't think they will, but again, this was a suggestion from the PPLC, and sometimes they have good ideas. And so this is a good idea. And so I'm going to say, you know what, now they'll know exactly what did we bring in this year, earmarked for remote learning, and how much did we spend. All the license we spent is for the online learning, the Pear Deck, the Einstein thing, or the Albert IO, I'm sorry. But all that stuff that we're using right now is going to get pulled out. So by the next one, we should have more money in instructional fees as we start to move that money over in there, and then licensing fees will get bigger. So does that make sense? Beautiful. Going down, we got some other stuff here. There's Taft donations right there. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. We're gonna burn that away. Hopefully, if we get the approval to get our clock. Okay, so that's the Taft donations. And then down here, we still have money in there for the Veterans Memorial I could pull out. So, you know, there is money to be had in there. Any questions on internal accounts?
I do. You know, we're down a lot from, I know, compared to last year, the year prior. And my fear is that we're continuing to spend down this instructional fee that we were hoping to earmark around $200,000 for capital projects. And I feel like it's dwindling down to do those capital projects. And then my other concern is that when it comes to doing this clock as well, we did a similar clock, probably in one of these views in my background here. And it is a couple grand for the foundation for the clock. It is a couple grand to do it. So if we do it, we would really need to wipe out the veterans and the donation account that we already have to cover the cost on that for sure.
Yeah, I do agree. But here's what you got to understand, Mrs. Strada, is that, that is, and you know, I'm like, anybody that's known me for 7 years, I'm like a squirrel. I like to have my reserve accounts all the time. I'm not that concerned right now because we're not going to be spending a lot of money this year. Don't forget, our biggest draw on internal accounts is usually sports. Every year, we normally spend about $140,000 on just buses. So that's not going to be spent this year. Then we also have uniforms and upgrades to, you know, to like we have to buy new soccer nets or a lot of football stuff. So we don't have that wear and tear on the old equipment. So although it looks like we don't have a lot, like I said, we're going to have a couple of bumps coming up with the influx of money. I believe when everybody figures out, because nobody wants to pay their money and then think how do I get it back? They're just going to wait. Like, what do I owe? Okay, then I'll pay it. So everybody's waiting for those letters to come out, whether or not they got it. So I respect your concerns, but I think we're okay right now. I really do.
Do you still expect to pull in 400K for the?
I don't. Well, it would be right now, like I said, it should be 600K we should bring in. Normally, we do have a lot of people that stiff us, for lack of a better term, at the end of the thing. And it's not that they just stiff us. Some of them are just, they hit hard times and they can't pay it. And I understand that. So, but we always have a certain amount of money at the end where they just can't afford it. But usually at the end, I would say probably 70% of everybody pay off their debt. We have right now probably, I think, $1 million out there right now that people owe us without the $300,000 on there. So again, it's tough. I'd like to remind everybody that kids do not have to pay student fees. It's a suggestion. We don't, you know, I don't go around saying that, but again, the way I look at it is you're helping out the school for the quality of education you get right now for $1.80 a day. I can argue all day with you that it's worth it, you know, for what we do. And a lot of people, like I've had a lot of not arguments, but disagreements with people like, wait a minute, why do I have to pay $300? Because my kid's not using any of this. He has his own computer, he has this. And I keep telling him, yeah, but a lot of people don't. And so that's why we're buying the Chromebooks and we're lending them out to people. And we have to fix those Chromebooks. And we have Naviance, which you are using, whether or not you think you are or not, and some of the other programs that you're using in all the classes. So it's not like, you know, you're going through Old Country Buffet and you grab, you know, mashed potatoes and that's it. You still pay $11.95 no matter what you grab. So most people, when you explain it to them, like they're like, okay, I get it. I really do.
All that makes sense, but I'm just wondering, when do you have these conversations? Are you going to put something like that together in an email as a plea for people to pay their fees?
I am, and like I said, Kath, what I'm going to do is wait for they're all going to get a letter. Everybody is going to get a letter, and I think right now with our DocuSign, which is unbelievable, it's something that Mr. Glowitz started and all the other APs pitched in. I think Dan was instrumental on that too. With the DocuSign, before, you know, we had to get these papers in and then we'd have like 50% of them didn't turn them in and we're trying to do this and then enter them. Now with DocuSign, right now we're going to be at about 92% of all of our stuff entered in by next week. And so like everybody, because again, I don't mind if you can't pay your fees, but don't stiff me to where you didn't apply for free and reduced lunch. Because if you would have done that, we would have gotten $970 as opposed to now I get nothing. So I'm just asking you, do your due diligence. If you're hurting financially, I get it. A lot of people are. Just fill the paperwork out and we get almost $1,000 if you do that. And then we waive your fees when you get either a free or reduced. So to answer that question, so this was going to be a hit of a year, okay? But here's the back end of it, is I think we'll get more money in the springtime. I feel like myself, the economy is going to turn a little bit and people will start becoming employed a little bit. They might have a little more discretionary income, but that's not really what I'm counting on. What I'm counting on is a lot more people, since we're at 95%, and I plan to be at 100% because I'm going to make those phone calls myself to everybody, is that we're going to get more money next year at the beginning of the year. For the last 3 or 4 years, our CIWP, which is $1,000 for every kid that is free or reduced lunch, we've normally got anywhere from 1.3 million to 1.5 million every year I've been here. Next year, I expect that to be about $2 million because a lot more people are doing it and a lot more people actually need it. So I think we just kind of have to bail water right now, and we'll have about $500,000 more by next year.
I see.
Any other questions on internal accounts? All right, let me move. I'm wondering if I don't think I have a copy of the internal accounts. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Kathy, I sent it to everybody. Do you have it?
I put it in the drive if you just want to go to the Taft drive.
Is it the LSC?
Uh-huh. Everything you send me, I always upload there.
Because I'm in LSC and I don't see anything. I got October budget.
Well, that's your LSC. So in my drive, you have to go to shared drives. I see on the left. Yep.
Okay.
No, that's not it.
Oh, you're following me here? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me put LSC up here.
There you go. 2020, 2021, the second one.
Oh, I got it. Okay, my fault. I'll put everything in there for now on. And I'll give it to each a folder like you're doing then, right?
Okay. Yeah, then November, oh, is that right down there? Yep.
Perfect. Okay,
And
I
then
get it now.
budget.
All right. Look at how organized you are.
It's in budget at the top. There you go.
Wow. All right, November Taft budget right there. Okay, so this is it big enough for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go all the way to the bottom real quick. Mr. Davinovic, you should be playing Money by Pink Floyd right now. Oh, yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
Right.
I'd rather hear the OJs actually.
What song is that?
Money, 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 money.
Oh, there we go. $890,000 right now in 115 funds. And if you remember, 115 funds are not only SBB. That's the number that we get about $5,800 per kid, but it's also our CIWP, which is what I just talked about, like $1.5 million. So it's all in there. Most of it goes towards teacher salaries. Right now we have $890,000 in it. Seems like a lot. When you take out this substitute salary, which we really can't touch, the printing, which is the where they have a monopoly and we have to pay that and they take it out. And then we have supplies and a couple other things. We have right now probably around $500,000, $550,000 roughly in there. Okay, so what we're going to do with that $550,000 is a couple things. If you remember at the beginning of the year, they didn't give us a lot of money, and so we needed those for positions. Okay, so we got as many positions as we could, even though we had to ask them for more, but we had more money. We had about $250,000 come in after the 20th day, which meant we exceeded what they had told us. So they said, you're going to have this amount, you're going to have, I think, 39.20, and I think right now we're at 39.64. So we came in a little bit above it, so we got some money in that. So with that, if you remember the beginning of the year, we opened up as many positions as we could because that's the important thing, get teachers in front of kids. But we needed to, we couldn't afford a couple of positions. One of those was an art position. Okay, we have Miss Emily Vitas has been holding down the ship. She has an art background, so we've been using her as a sub this whole time, and she's doing a wonderful job. Right now, we just interviewed an art teacher last week or this week, and so we're going to hire them if their principal lets them go. If not, then we're going to grab her in January when we can get her. So that's our position. The other position we're going to pay for is a Spanish position, which we needed, which we have a sub also, which is kind of holding on the ship. We're kind of waiting. Again, it's kind of tough right now. Not the best time to be hiring teachers. A lot of them have jobs already. And so the quality pool is not the standard. that I want working at Taft. So if they're not good, then we just move on. We just keep moving on. But we think we've got a Spanish teacher coming in right now, so we have to pay for that salary. The other thing we have to do is to pay for the buckets. If you remember at the beginning of the year, I just put enough in the buckets just to open the bucket and to get us through. So it's like allowance for your kids. So everybody gets a little bit of money. Now that the money came in, now we're going to replenish those buckets. And you can see that later on when we start doing budget transfers. So right now, that's where a lot of the money's going. We're also looking at a conflict resolution specialist. As you know, I moved Mr. Duarte into the counseling department and Ms. Francic into the individuals and societies department. They're doing a great job. And I appreciate all their hard work. But right now, I'm looking to fill those positions. So I'm looking to get a conflict resolution specialist on the varsity campus. I've already interviewed one person and she's unbelievable, and I'm hoping we can get her. But again, we have to follow through the process and maybe we get somebody else. So that would be another position that we're looking at right now. The other ones, if we have any other extra money, what we're thinking about is putting some feelers out there. We know that we're going to go up 200 kids next year. Okay. And I just did that because I wanted to get a rise out of Gorn.
Yeah.
But we're going to go up 200 kids next year. So we're going to need some core teachers. And when I say that, we're going to need the core teachers now on the senior level. We're going to need an English teacher, a math teacher, a individual societies teacher, possibly a PE teacher. So we're going to look in February when the new semester comes. If we've got a rock star out there and we can get them here, we're going to get them here and just kind of lower the class size the second semester, knowing full well we can use those in the summer. So it's kind of like we're kind of cherry picking. And if we get great people, great. And we're going to bring them on board. If not, we'll find something else for those funds. But right now, that's where that $500,000 is going to. Okay. Any questions at all?
When we get this sort of a windfall next year,
Yeah.
because that money typically goes all towards salaries, so we'll have, I mean, we'll have an extra $500,000 to work with.
Theoretically, yes.
Okay.
But again, I think CPS is probably going to be hurting like everybody else in the state. So you know, CPS has a habit of coming by and knocking on our door. Like they took my second year, they took $700,000 of, we were being very prudent and had a nice little reserve, and they decided, you know what, let's just go and see who's got reserves and take those monies. So I understand it. They were hurting for money, and that's what I would do too if I was in charge. But right now, so I can't say. So theoretically, yes, we're looking good, but they may hold back because it's going to be. We have not seen the ripple effect of what the pandemic has done to our society yet. We're going to see little ripple effects. Like and if we do have money, what I would probably make a strong push for is social workers, maybe another counselor, because I think the ripple effect. The negative ripple effect we're going to see on what's going on right now are social emotional issues that are going to start bubbling up in the next few months or few years about what's going on here. Because I think it's just me. I think years from now, they'll look back on the learning loss and they'll say, no big deal. Okay, we made it up. But what you can't make up is the social emotional issues that kids just can't push down because they're like it's like a pimple. You got to you kind of have to, you know what you do to a pimple. Well, you got to do that to get it going. So.
But I thought we talked, Principal G, at last meeting that you were going to kind of give us a menu of the cost to hire. I think it was Miss Devine who gave us the breakdown of like, it's, I don't know, is it one for every social worker, there should be X amount of students, and we're so pathetically over what the ratio is.
Yeah.
That really want to have a plan to figure out for us to be prudent and make sure that we're planning in the very near future to allocate dollars to either a social worker, a case manager, and she explained the difference. I apologize. I'm looking at my notes. I don't remember. And then the behavioral health specialist, which
right now
still won't be able to cover the needs of our school.
I'm going to be honest with you, and I cannot feasibly see how we're going to be able to get to what the state, what people are suggesting schools should be at as far as
I'm not,
one.
I don't play, I'm
Right.
not, I don't, I mean, one, I'm simply saying, can we get
Right.
one more on the books?
Right.
If I have to pick between turf, and you know, both my kids are athletes, they're out there. If I have to pay for turf or getting a social worker in, I'm going with the social worker.
And I'll disagree with you on that one, because here's the reason why, is when we get turf, that turf is ready for 30 years. Okay, when you get a social worker, that social worker has a salary that comes due every year. And I'm not against that, but I'm like, you know what? Take care of the, that's why I'm so adamant about getting those buses. If we get one bus for $55,000, I've been told that will save us $60,000 every year. So I'm for buying stuff like that. I'm not against buying social workers right now. I'm really not in counselors, but right now, we have applications out there, I believe on the Taleo for this. We're just not getting people in here right now. So
I appreciate that, but I think we have a fiduciary responsibility to plan for this. And yeah, I respectfully disagree. If I have to vote for a social worker or turf, I'm voting for a social worker.
okay,
Our kids, and I don't think, and all I think we discussed this, that I don't know if it was at the budget meeting or at the big meeting, but we need to understand what the dollar breakdown is for this before I start voting for other miscellaneous stuff that we could be allocating. You're very good at putting money aside, that we
Right.
can be fiscally responsible to be putting money aside so we can get one additional position in, which is still pathetic in regards to what we should have.
I don't disagree with you, but it's not as easy as getting a social worker, because that social worker is going to have $100,000 a year salary every year. So now, do we need one? Yes, but again, we don't. I mean, I'm for it. I told you, I'm for getting another social worker. I'm for getting another counselor. I'm all for that right now. Okay, the pool is really light on that right now. It's in our priorities, but to get to 16 counselors and 16 social workers, not really doable, but I think we can move closer. But again, I'm with you. But again, I just think it's not fair to compare our field, which we're taking out of internal accounts, which is a danger to our kids that are out there all the time, that they can get hurt. And it's $18,000. That would buy me 2.5 months of a social worker, and it lasts forever. So I got you and me, Ms. Grusso, back and forth. I just think that I'm going to go with safety right now as a priority. But again, we don't have to do that right now, because we're not putting one against the other. There is no.
Mr.
Yeah.
Christian,
Yeah.
if I may, I understand what you're saying, but I think that every year that we don't have additional social workers, kids are the ones who lose out, right? Especially ones who might be in their senior year. That's just an example. I am a proponent of what Mr. Gusso is saying, and I get what you're saying completely, but I as just an example, I think every year that we don't have something like an additional social worker, more kids lose out. That's just a personal opinion. Just
And I'm
Also
not.
remember too, that the teachers are overloaded, the counselors we already have. So to reduce their caseload even by a little bit.
Again, and I guess I'm not articulating myself. I'm not saying, Principal G, that I want to hire the whole kit and caboodle.
I know that.
I'm simply saying one, not where we need to be, and getting one additional one doesn't even get us closer to where we need to be, but it gets us some kind of relief. And so where we can reach out to some more kids, some more of our kids.
I have a question. So when we were talking about the extra $500,000 that we're looking to spend on future teachers in anticipation of a student increase next year, couldn't we take those funds and actually put that into a social worker that now can help the students this year as well as going forward, and then actually wait till we get the student enrollment that would increase the funds in that to buy those positions that we would need next year?
Yes, that's also possible.
You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like we're buying teachers in anticipation of a huge increase, which
we knew was coming.
Which could happen. And I understand getting the
Which we
teachers
knew
on
was
board, reducing the class size. But if we look at what we need now and what we need going forward, that kind of solves two birds with one stone. We don't need that teacher this year. We're really needing it for the next school year, but we could use that social worker and those funds to do that now, correct?
We could, but again, I'm not, I don't want to sound like I'm against that. I'm really not, but I have to play the hand that I'm dealt. And right now my hand that I'm dealt is contractually, I have to get some of these class sizes down.
Yeah.
So if I can get some of these class sizes down, that's what I have to do. And I know I don't like to be able to play against the kids' health versus this, but I mean, the CTU has a contract and I have to keep those class sizes down. We're doing pretty good there. I think we're about 95% are compliant, but we still need to get some of those class sizes down. So I'm for you, Mr. Strada. We will look into that. We will try to we'll put the feelers out for a social worker. If we can get one in the second semester, we can do that by far, okay?
Okay.
And I agree. I agree with Mr. Russo and I agree with you. So we will put that out in the second semester. We'll see if we can't get a social worker in here.
Okay.
Okay. Ready to move on? Okay. Any other thoughts on the 115 funds?
I have a question. So
Go ahead, Warren.
with 200 projected new students coming in next year,
Yeah.
which is absurd, we're going to add more teaching positions. How many more do you expect to hire in total if we get that?
Yeah, whenever you think a kid's going, for every 25 kids, you need a teacher. So you're looking at 8 teachers. Mhm.
It's very messy because, you know, when we get to the position, when we get to overcapacity, which we might be at already, right? Which is something I've said 5-6 years ago, which I said we were going to get back to stage 1, which we knew we were going to get back to stage 1, you know, and then the argument's going to be, I don't want to cut any teachers. I mean, I already foresee that. And that would be something that I expect you to say next year or 2 years or whatnot. We have to, and I urge the council members, and I'll urge them during my last meeting and my last speech, to keep an eye on the capacity of this school, because it's going to go back to square one where it was, and it's in nobody's interest. All right, man. Thank you.
Can I say one thing too? We're again, I'm looking at year over year and where we've been before, and we're significantly down in this time frame to what we were before. And it seems like we've added more positions and more students. Do you find any correlation there? Do you have any reasoning why that's happening? Why we're so significant?
Why Mr. Estrada, why we're adding more kids?
No, I'm saying like our overall, what we were left with in these accounts last year at this time is significantly less than now. Is that because you added other positions? Is that just a timing of the factor of things?
It's the cyclicalness of the, are you talking about internal accounts, right?
No, I'm talking about these like SPV funds.
No, this is about where we are every year. We normally about this time have $500,000 after, or at least the last 5 years, after we get that bump from the 20th day. This is about where we're at. We normally can, if we need a position or two, we do that, or what we've had to do in the past is we've had to fund a lot of 0.2s that teachers have when they pick up an extra class. We were able to pay with those with the original fees, but sometimes we would have to backdate that, and that might be $100,000 right there. But normally by the end of the year, and if anybody that's been on the council for a couple of years, you know, we normally have $200,000 or $300,000 going into those last couple months, and we're like scrambling. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Now the last couple of years, it kind of worked in our favor where we bought a bunch of Chromebooks, Chrome carts, and computers. We didn't foresee the pandemic coming, but the fact that the pandemic coming, right now we have, I think, 1,600 Chromebooks lent out to our community members right now. So it actually worked out in our favor that we had that many on there. But as far as this budget goes, this is a normal budget. Internal accounts is hurting right now. But again, like I said, we're not going to have as many expenses as we normally do.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. Let's go to funds. This is 124 funds, which is kind of special income right now. I hate to say it, but kind of chump change, $7,400 in there. I think the most it's ever been since I've been principal is $100,000. So it goes up and down and up and down. So right now it's $7,400. So any questions on this little baby budget? Okay, let me go back.
Last year it was $117,000.
Thank you, Ms. Estrada.
I mean, that's a lot different.
Yeah.
We've dwindled down all of the savings, I feel like, that we've had.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see we're investing in capital projects. I just think there's some other
Yeah.
things that we need to be looking at.
All right, let me go back to my drive again, because I think my stuff's in my drive. Okay, so these are the budget transfers I'm asking for, or the three checks that I'm asking to cut. The first one is Herc Jones. Those are for last year's graduation diploma covers, caps and gowns. We're going to take that out of instructional fees. Remember, we didn't charge kids for graduation, so we kind of took a little hit right there. Normally we get $100 a kid. So I think we got to, we got to pay the piper right now. That's from 2020. We have it's supposed to be do right, not die right. Do right is the 18,940 that I'm asking for the field out there. Do I need to show anybody a picture of the field, why we need it, or no? Was anybody not here that wants to see it again?
No more LSC members joined, I don't think.
Okay, good. I'll just show it at the LSC meeting again then for everybody, but that's really to get our field done and watered 3 times. And then the last one is the clock for $21,000. And like I said, the Taft donations has $23,000 in it. So we're pretty set on that. So our alumni has really come through. And then I also had I think in the fall, John will answer this, but I think we have another alumni newsletter coming out. And I think they're going to put another appeal in there for the clock. So we should get some more money there. And I also had, I think the class of 1959 said, Mark, how much money do you need to finish the project? And I told them 4,000, and they said, we should be able to get that money. So we should have some more money coming in also, because again, we have to do a little bit of electrical work. We've got to do a base. So it's going to look nice. Okay, let's go down. Budget transfers. Remember, I told you that at the beginning of the year, we didn't have a lot of money. So I just put bare minimums in all the buckets just to get the bucket started and to pay some bills. Well, now it's time to replenish those buckets, because we got that little bit of a windfall after the 20th day, that $260,000. So these are all clearing negatives that we had in there, and they're going to make them zero again, maybe a little bit more money. First one is postage. We still have postage going out, so I need $1,500 to replace that bucket. Teachers extended day for prep. Again, I just seeded the bucket to get it started, but right now a lot of our teachers are meeting after school. When they meet after school, they usually get a non-instructional rate, which is I think about $45 an hour. If they do teach a class, like we do have PE teachers that are going to be teaching driver's ed to our NJROTC kids, they'll get instructional rate, which is about $50 an hour. So we need to up that bucket a little bit. The negative on the clerks, the ESP and the SECA for the summer, again, it went negative because, again, I just seeded the bucket and we have to pay the piper. They were here in the summertime. We always put a little more money in there. We do have some people working a little bit of overtime, an hour here, an hour there, back and forth. We need to clear that one out. We have a substitute bucket. This is the one that I raised my eyebrow this morning. I'm like, Mr. Charles, get in here. What is this? It was $16,500. So I'm like, what is this substitute bucket? And what this is I had forgot. Remember I talked about earlier, 2 of our classes are being handled right now by substitutes. Our art teacher by Miss Vitas, and then we also have the Spanish teacher. So those are being handled by substitute teachers. That's what this account is. Okay, until we could find a teacher. And like I said, I think we have a good art teacher that we're going to hire, and I'm pretty sure we got a line on that Spanish teacher. So that's just to pay the piper on that one. We have SAT, Dream Team, and CIWP. Those are teams that are meeting after school. Again, non-instructional rate. We have clubs, extracurricular activities, $2,000. I think right now we have about 80 clubs. The going rate, I think right now in the CTU, I'm not sure what the new contract was, but the old contract I think was $232, might be $250 that we're supposed to pay the teachers. We pay them $320 here. We give them a little bit more money. We give them non-instructional rate, 8 hours. So that may be more like $350. So I know it's more than what the CTU contract calls for, but I think it's teachers are worth it. I mean, they put in 8 hours, but in reality, if anybody's ever worked a club, you're not working 8 hours. You're probably working double that or triple that. So a little extra money, it goes a long way with those clubs. And the last thing is technician bucket for other instructional programs. So that would be the technology that we needed to fulfill. Like some of the computers are breaking down, or we need some more cameras and stuff like that. So anything on that at all? That was a lot of transfers. No, we're all good? Okay. What else do I need? I think that's it. Any questions at all on budget?
No.
No?
Anybody else? Does anybody from the PPLC want to talk about anything?
We don't have Chad, we don't
See
have,
Chad or Mary Ann, but I don't have anything to add here. I'll let Mary Ann report on that at the main meeting.
Sounds good. Any public participation regarding budgets?
Gordon, when we're done with this COVID, I want to come to that studio. I'm just letting you know.
All right then.
Chrissy, if I can for the public
Yeah, go ahead.
participation. So Mr. Grishaber, do you have any idea what the funding might be for the library projects? What the kind of cost of the library projects might be?
I believe it's about $23,000. I think that was the last time. I think we approved it last. Chrissy, do you have the numbers from last budget? Was it 23,000?
Hold on one sec.
Okay, I know she has it because she's good.
While Chrissy's looking for that, can you tell me if you can hear me better?
way.
Yes.
Okay, I switched computers, so I need to buy a new one for myself. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell Bruce Christmas. Go on, get on it.
Yeah, I don't have to wait till Christmas.
Ah,
He's gonna try it from my computer now, as long as we're waiting. So,
oh, I can see him hacking away in the back there. Yeah.
yeah, of course. he
How
is.
do I sound? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Does it sound better than when Anita used it?
yes.
Yes.
Let me turn my video on. How about now?
Wow. It's Ernest Hemingway. Cool.
So I must have fixed it.
I don't think it was approved last month. I think it was even before that. So you have to-
Okay. Yeah, but Brian, I think it was about $23,000. It might be 26, but it's right there.
Okay,
That's the amount of the
Okay.
project. Yeah. Any other questions? I gotta feed my livestock and then I'll be back at 6:30.
Everybody good? I'll look that up for you, Mr. Wilson. Okay, I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:15. Sorry.
This is the same link we use for LSC, right, Kath?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just mute and everything. Okay, take care,
I'll
everybody. See you
stay
there.
online and I'll just stop the recording and start it again at 6:30.
All right, cool.